bought the property here in the spring of 1928. Her construction did not begin until that fall, so she had all that time in between to turn her attention to the furniture. She's going to need a lot of furniture for this house. So she ended up traveling to Sweden, Denmark, Finland, and Norway to shop. And she traveled with her architect because they were looking for some unique construction ideas too. And they ended up bringing back Scandinavian antiques for the house. Now there were some pieces that she had seen in the museums that she really liked, so she recreated them. They have every scratch and color, so you can't tell which is Laura's and which came out of the museum. The table in the middle of the room is one of her recreations. That is called a Swedish bridal table. When a woman got married in Sweden, the family would give that couple that as a wedding gift. That vase on top of it, one of the few items here at Vikingsholm that's not Scandinavian. She brought that vase back from a trip that she took to Japan. The decorations on it has to do with love and marriage. So there's a nice pairing for those two pieces. The table in front of the windows, now that is 17th century. That came from a castle in Norway. And our little chair right up front came out of Finland. So what you're seeing here at the house, when she traveled to Scandinavia, she just bought everything that she liked from 4 countries, brought them back here and put them all together. So it's a blending of 4 countries here. And then she wove in some Viking folklore. So she's telling all these little Viking stories throughout the home, which kind of makes it fun for us. The piano is a 1929 Steinway. Beautiful instrument. She didn't know how to play it, but her guests that did, concerts were held here in the living room after dinner. That door in the back of the room is a look into the tower of the house. So that is the library. So that picture right up front, you can have an idea of what it looks like. That was Laura Knight's favorite room here at the house. In the morning, she would be in there with her private secretary. Even though she was vacationing, she still had to work too. So the rug in there is cashmere. 1928, she paid $40,000 for that rug. So today it's considered to be priceless. We're not allowed to set foot on that rug. We lean in and we just turn on the light switch. But I use that rug as an example of the generosity of Harvey West. He owned all of this. He could have taken whatever he wanted with him, but he left all of it to tell the story of Vikingsholm. So thank you again to Harvey West. Now you're going to see the Vikings as a symbol of protection. Now she had seen beams like this in a Vikingsholm, so she thought it'd make a nice little addition to her living room. She had a Swedish woodcarver here, nicknamed Happy. She brought him in to do all the intricate wood carvings for her. So he did carve these beams. They are called pregnant dragons. There are 4 dragons on each beam. There are so many dragons in here. We walked around counting dragons one day and gave up at 90. It just was getting a little too overwhelming for us. They're all different shapes and sizes. 16 just out here on this porch. So as you're walking through the home, keep your eyes open because you're going to start seeing dragons. Now, I'm going to talk about this room that's right behind you here, and I realize some of you aren't going to be able to get a good look in there. That came off her boat, the Valkyrie, which is a 28-foot wooden Chris Craft motorboat. It was the nicest boat on the lake at that time. She owned some property over on the east shore of the lake. They would go over and picnic there. So that is her picnic china there. And one of my favorite items in the house is that little teapot that sits right in the middle. For some reason, that little teapot, it just has a lot of personality to it. But if anyone wanted to have a meal in that room, Laura Knight had 2 rules to follow. First of all, you better be on time because she didn't put up with tardiness. And in fact, there's a metal hook right outside this door where they hung a bell. Rang it an hour before the meals. That was a let you know you got 1 hour to get back here to the home and changed. So you got to be on time, and then you got to be properly dressed. She did not allow play clothes to go into the dining room. Dinner is the most formal of the meals. She would have requested the men to be in good suit and ties, ladies in nice dresses, and even the kids had to be in good clothes in order to sit at her table. Now there's a yellow room to the back of the dining room, which is not a kitchen that she put in. She had to have a way to get vehicles down here. So a guest normally would come in their car and drive down the road. They pull right up to that door there, and then the maids would take your things up to your room here. One of her chauffeurs would take your car to a different location, washed it, serviced it, and filled it with gasoline for you. She had her own gas pump here. So anything you need while you stayed here provided to you. And it wasn't just the rich and famous that came and stayed here. She had a wide variety of the guests that would come and stay with her here at Vikingsholm. But she was one of the best hostesses you could probably ever find. Now, guests would come in through the front door, and that's when they got to meet Selma the clock. Selma was carved and painted by the architect as a housewarming gift. Laura Knight had seen those clocks in Scandinavia, and she liked them. So he thought, well, you should have one for your home. Now, originally, Selma had a wind-up face. All this wood, fir, or pine brought from the North Shore of the lake over by barge. That's how most of the materials were brought here. The rock on the outside of the house, all granite, and they got it from the hillside that's just behind the home. This rock was brought from the North Shore of the lake, but all the floors are oak, and she had that brought up from Sacramento. The stained glass windows, as we go upstairs, you're going to start seeing a lot of stained glass windows. They're beautiful. She chose them all, and they were brought from Sweden. So she really did mix it up between Scandinavia and Lake Tahoe here. And the main goal for the house for her, that scenery out there was the star of the show, and she wanted the house to blend into it. It ended up getting the nickname the Hidden Castle. So this, and at first the mill didn't want to take the order because he had to do a lot of extra to it. And she said, just put it on the bill. She wanted the wide because that was the look she wanted to have. All right, well, welcome to the second floor of the home. Now, there are a total of 6 bedrooms up here. Each one does have its own full bathroom, which in 1929, having 1 bathroom, you were doing pretty good. But she was way ahead of the curve on her construction here. So the guests use this section of the house. There are 3 guest bedrooms. The one at the end of the hall is in the tower. It's called the chieftain's bedroom. So we hope in the next round of restoration it's going to get fixed. But that was a really nice place for the guests to hang out. Beautiful view into the courtyard and the granite mountains back there. We're going to go out to that courtyard, so I'll hold off and talk about that when we get there. 2 steps right behind you.
That's staff's exit and entry. That's the owner's bedroom.
Apparently I'm out of step with everybody. I'm going the opposite direction.
Okay, this was a pink room for nieces and other girls that visited. No fireplace was installed here.
Okay, I'm going to start meeting you downstairs.
Yeah. Do you need assistance or you? There was one. It's been half an hour.
I know. Don't even look at that.
So if you look, the building goes around the tree. So it was supposed to be a 2-car garage, and they had to make it into a 1-car garage because of the tree. Yes.
Gas station.
You bought your tour ticket? That's where the chauffeurs live. It's a duplex. Each have their own side. And right in front of that building are 2 stone walls that go out into the lake. That was their boathouse. They kept their boat there because they ran a lot of the errands for her by lake. And their little boat was called the Chipmunk. I think the chauffeurs had one of the best jobs on the property. She liked to have fresh fish a lot for dinner, so they would have to go out and catch it for her. had attention paid to it. There are some Viking queens on each side of the doors that are carved into the woodwork. So her attention to detail, incredible. Open up a couple more doors too.
Did you pave the road down, or was it mostly just dirt?
Here, into the courtyard, and right up to the front door. And from that moment on, you're gonna have a nice day here at Vikingsholm. One of my favorite views are the granite mountains back there. Your best view is right over here. You really get to see them from that part of the courtyard. But the courtyard was used mostly by Laura Knight's staff for housing and workspace. She had 15 staff come up here from Santa Barbara to spend the summer with her. And then they would all go back down to Santa Barbara in the wintertime. A good woman to work for. She kept them all fully employed during that depression and took care of their families. If any of the staff's children wanted to have an education, she would pick up that bill to college. And then in the will, they got $1,000 for every year they had been with her. 1945, some of them were inheriting over $20,000, which was quite a bit of money at that time. When they were up here, once a month, she'd send them over to the North Shore of the lake, to the Tahoe Tavern, to have a night on the town on her. Bowling, movies, dinner, she picked up the bill for that. So, a very kind woman to her staff. Now, she created a little Scandinavian village out here. The main house, we just came from that section, designed to look like a castle in Sweden. This back building right here, that represents an 11th century church in Norway. And there are dragons on the peaks of the roof. It has 8 dragons in total. And then these wooden spikes that you see on the roof line, that's Viking folklore. They're called fierce branches, and they believe they would keep spirits from going into the building. They're very superstitious about spirits. There are 4 carved wooden posts right up front with that flower in the middle. That flower shows up all over the house, and they are all identical to each other, except for this one right here. That flower, if you notice, is slightly turned. This one, nobody's perfect. And that is Laura Knight's flaw for Vikings. Case in there, it's so cute. I love that section of the home. Now the state of California uses that as housing for summer staff, so people are actually living in this section of the house. The stone building, garage and a workshop. The last building has our 1936 Dodge, original to the property, driven by her secretary, Sam Brown. He sold it to one of the guests and then donated it back here to the house. So I'll get the doors open for you. Questions? When you are ready to leave, you go up this way. The little strap will lift up for you. And I want to tell you thank you for taking the tour today. Proceeds from these tours put back into the to-do list. So you're helping us with a rather long list. Enjoy the last of your trip. That is a cedar tree, yes.
This is the staff dining.
Well, I went the wrong way, I'll go this way. Is there a refrigerator or is it an icebox? What's in the refrigerator?